the fundamental shift that happened 20 years ago, was this idea of being user-centered. The idea of thinking about the efficiency and experience of the customers rather than the efficiency and experience of the company building the product. But I guess my background is as a designer, a product person. I founded an agency called Clearleft, but ultimately I'm an operator, I'm an entrepreneur. So, I built a company of 30, 40 people. It's not, the size of 200 or 2,000 people that you're heading for. But I guess my experience of building and running a 30, 40 person company means that I kind of understand a lot of the same challenges that early stage seed to sort of Series A kind of businesses find themselves in, The tricky problem around design is design actually means a lot of different things to a lot of people. I think a lot of people who maybe this is their first entrepreneurial career, when they think about design, they think about kind of delivery people. You get your engineers to build the thing, you get your product managers to maybe solve the business problems, you hand it over to the designer and they open up in Figma and they make it look pretty. And yeah, there are designers that have a very shallow approach to design and are really stylists. But actually, if you look at the profession of design, if you talk to designers at Airbnb and Google and, Lyft and all the big tech companies, they're not people that are just delivery people. They're not just shipping pretty interfaces. They're not just putting a wrapper or a skin on something. What they're doing is they're solving problems. And they're solving problems through a process which has become known as design thinking. So this sort of process involves understanding the problem, understanding the people that are experiencing this problem. And it might be the business, it might be your customers. Having, a route to asking a whole bunch of questions to kind of inform their decisions. So actually designers are more than just the interface. Designers are looking at the whole product as a whole. They're trying to understand what features need to go in there. They're trying to understand what problems the customers are trying to solve. They're trying to explore how other companies are solving those problems. They're trying to figure out the journey, getting people to buy the product, getting people to sign up, getting people to use the product, getting people to stay, getting people to come back. What this actually means is really designers are the ones who are largely responsible for product market fit. They're making all these decisions, or at least they're actively involved in all these decisions. If you don't have designers on your team, then those decisions are being made. And they might be being made by the CEO or the CTO or what have you. But they're not being made by people whose career has been focused purely around kind of solving those classes of problems. So having designers involved in the earlier stages of your business, I think makes a lot of sense. Because if you don't have designers involved, those design decisions are being made. But they're just not being made in a structured way. They're not being made in an informed way. They're being made in a sort of slightly scattershot way. Actually, if your product delivers more value than what you're charging, your customers will buy it. And if it's delivering less value than what you're charging, they won't. So one of the first things you have to do is you have to convince your customers that the product that you have and you're giving them delivers more value. Now, if you are solving a problem that's never been solved before, people won't care how well designed the problem is because they just want the problem to go away. Mm-hmm. So let's say you are the first company to do 15-minute grocery deliveries. And people desperately want 15-minute grocery deliveries. It's the most important thing in their life. They don't want to go out to the shop and get grocery deliveries. Then they really don't mind if it's a bit clunky, if it's a bit broken, if there's some bugs, as long as they can get that value. However, as soon as other people come onto the market, they start iterating. They start thinking about creating a really, really smooth logging process. They think about, a really smooth shipping process. So you make sure that you get the items that you want and they're delivered on time and you don't have to have refunds. If you have to do a refund, they create a really, really smooth customer experience process where you can get that food credited back to your account really, really quickly. All of the annoyances, all of the frustrations that you might have with a really, really simple, bare bones technical product, user experience can come and they can kind of shave off the corners. An economist called Joseph Pine has this idea of the experience economy. And this is the way he sort of explains it. He says, if you are just to sell a bag of coffee beans, the cost of the coffee that goes into a single sort of shot of coffee might be like 1 pence, 1 cent. If you go to a shop and have the coffee ground, buy ground coffee, it might be more expensive. You might be paying 5 or 10 cents for a coffee. If you go to an average coffee shop, like a cafe, and you ask them to make you cheap coffee, you might, spend £1. However, if you go and sit in a lovely coffee shop with great music and a great vibe and lovely chairs and what have you, and the coffee is made by a barista that knows what they're doing, you'll pay £3 or £4. What he talks about is this experience economy. People are willing to pay more for something that is a better experience because people derive value from that experience. Now, that's not saying you can't have a business model that is a commodity model. There are plenty of airlines that you can get from the UK, from London to Ireland for £20 or £15. But the experience is really, really painful. And what you're doing, you're saying, okay, I'm willing to pay a really, really cheap price to get a crappy experience. Or you could be a premium model. You could be someone like Virgin Atlantic, where you have a really comfortable seat, you have brilliant kind of changing, policy if you need to change your ticket. You go to the airport, you have a brilliant sort of, check-in process. And the experience, the overall experience to you is worth more. And if that experience to you is worth more, you can charge more. So there's this idea of this experience premium, like thinking through the problems, thinking through the challenges, taking the pain away allows you to charge more. And this is what designers do every single day. Designers create experiences. They create delightful experiences that are thought through and considered. A lot of the time, if you don't have designers involved, you tend to have an engineering mindset whereby the technical model, the database structure, the way your algorithms are organized, the way your back end is built around the efficiency of the engineers. It's not built around the needs and desires of the customer. And this is why for many, many years, B2B products were awful, because they were designed for the efficiency of the people building them, not for the people using them. And the fundamental shift that happened 20 years ago, was this idea of being user-centered. The idea of thinking about the efficiency and experience of the customers rather than the efficiency and experience of the company building the product. Now, that doesn't sound like it should be a big deal, but I still see companies today who optimize their output around making developers' lives easier or making the businesses' lives easier rather than making the customers' lives easier. Every different investment company has a different thesis. They basically say, like, we invest in these kind of companies. These are the things that we value. So, choosing an investment company that values design over engineering, over speed can be important. Once you've already got your first round of investors, it might be that when you're looking to get your next round, you target people that have got a different set of values or beliefs. Because if you're finding that your values are not in alignment with the investors' values, there's always going to be tension. Getting investors is like a marriage. And what I'm hearing from you is that you've married somebody that doesn't necessarily share your values. And you need someone to be married to. So you can't have a divorce and find somebody else to be married to. You've just got to live with it. That is a challenging situation. And if that's the situation, then you have to learn how to negotiate with that party, which is sort of the question you're asking.